Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Okay, I hope I am audible clearly.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we start the class. The strength seems to be very little. Should we start?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all of you enter your attendance first. Okay, in the last class, we had learned what is grid computing and how is it different from cloud computing. Now, why we took up that topic is because many a times grid computing and cloud computing, people think that they are the same. Actually, they are different and they are used also for different purposes, especially in scientific applications where a lot of computing abilities are required. Grid computing is made use of. It is a mechanism which allows the untapped computing abilities of computers which are idle to be used for large projects. Okay. Cloud computing, on the other hand, will allow you centralized storage and management of your data, and you can access your data as and how it is required on your machine. So generally in a cloud-based environment, you have clients, you have the data centers, and you also have the distributed servers. Okay. I think last class we saw this distinction. If all of you remember correctly, we have seen the distinction between grid computing and cloud computing. Okay. So there are different criteria based on which we can distinguish between grid and cloud computing. But there's one important criteria which is used in both, and we are going to learn that criteria or that particular concept today. In the last class I had told you, in fact we had discussed all the other differences between grid computing and cloud computing except for virtualization. So we are going to take up this particular point, that is what is virtualization and how does it work in cloud computing. Okay, first of all, if you all can see this table, virtualization in case of grid computing is for data and computing resources, whereas virtualization in case of cloud computing is for hardware and software platforms. So generally, your servers, your data centers that are going to be there, whatever is your data, whatever is the hardware available at the servers, that is going to be virtually made available to the clients, that is to the machines which access your data. Okay, so virtualization in grid computing is data and computing resources, whereas in cloud computing it is hardware and software platforms. So first of all, we'll try to understand what is meant by virtualization. Have you heard this word called virtual or virtual reality? Have you heard? What do
Yes,
you
ma'am.
mean by the word virtual? What do you mean by the word virtual?
Which doesn't exist in reality.
Yeah, but it will give you a feeling that it is real. Something that doesn't exist in reality, but it will simulate. It will give you a feeling. Simulation means, you understand? It will give you a feeling that it is
Yes.
real. One simple example I'll give you. There are a lot of games, okay, computer games, which are based on virtual reality. Do you know that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so you can wear a headgear, you can have other accessories that you know can control, and you could actually get into a computer game where you are maybe racing your cars, or maybe you are sitting in a jet plane and then going just as if you are actually sitting in a jet plane, or actually sitting inside a rocket or something like that, and then going at high speed. So it gives you a feeling that you are actually doing it, but actually you're not doing it. In reality, you're not doing it. It's virtual reality, something that seems real, but it is not real. Like that, virtualization is got, this concept is very much similar. This virtualization concept is nothing but creating a virtual version of something. What do you mean by the word virtualization? Creating a virtual version. Virtual version means not a real version, but it gives you a feeling that it's a real version. For example, your computer may have, say, about 10 GB of memory space. But with virtualization, you are actually not storing more than 10 GB on your computer. Maybe you're storing somewhere else, or maybe your computer is running in a virtual environment, and it is giving you a feeling that you have 100 GB of data. 100 GB of data is actually not on your machine; it's somewhere else. But you are going to get a feeling that 100 GB of data is available to me on my local computer, or available to me for computing purpose. Getting my point? Such a concept, such a mechanism which allows you to create a virtual version of something. That something can be, we'll discuss what that something is. A virtual version of something, if you are able to create, that process is called as virtualization. For example, you can have virtualization for hardware, you can have virtualization for software, you could have virtualization of storage devices, you could have virtualization of network resources, so many computing resources that are connected to your computer. You can create a virtual version of this. When you're doing this, the process is known as virtualization. How you're using it, for what purpose you're using it, or rather what is being virtualized, that may differ depending on the kind of application that you're using. Okay, so first of all, understand the definition of virtualization. What do you mean by the word virtualization? creating a virtual version of something is known as virtualization. For example, you can create a virtual hardware. That hardware doesn't actually exist on your machine, but you feel that you are using it. You get a feeling as if you are using it on your own local machine. The hardware may be somewhere else, but you are getting a feeling as if it's present on your own local machine. And just like you interact with your local machine and do your day-to-day task on your local machine, you are able to do it on the virtual hardware. So hardware virtualization can be there. Operating system virtualization can be there, which you yourself have used in the lab. You have a Windows that is installed. You also have a Ubuntu that is installed. So you create a virtual machine there. Have you come across this in the lab? We all
Yes,
make
ma'am.
use of a virtual machine, no?
Yes, ma'am.
So what is it? What is that called as? The process is known as virtualization. So virtualization can be of storage devices, it could be hardware, it could be software, it could be the computing resources, it could be the network resources, the server itself could be virtualized. So many ways and so many accessories, equipments that are connected to your computer could be virtualized. Why virtualization? Why do we go for virtualization? We don't get restricted by the resources of a computer. When we don't want to get restricted by the resources of a computer, what we go for is virtualization. You don't have all those resources on your computer. You may have it somewhere else, but you can directly access them as if you are using them on your own machine. Okay, so virtualization will allow you to create a virtual version of something. Now, generally, we will try to understand what is meant by the word hardware virtualization. Okay, creation of a virtual machine. That is, you are going to virtualize the hardware present on a machine is called as hardware virtualization. So in hardware virtualization, what you are doing basically is creating a virtual machine that acts as a real computer with an operating system. You feel as if it is real, but in reality, it is not real. It is a simulation. So we are virtualizing the hardware. It gives you a feeling as if it's a real computer with a real operating system. Computer is there. You feel that the same operating system is taking over the whole machine and allowing you to access the resources of the machine. So you are virtually doing it. That's why it is known as hardware virtualization. For example, we all know that you all have been learning what are the functions of an operating system. What are the functions of an operating system? Generally, it abstracts you. It creates an abstraction of your hardware. For example, you may have a hard disk. You may have the files stored on the hard disk. You may have a printer, you may have a scanner, which are all connected to your computer. Your operating system will act as an intermediary between the hardware and you. So it will abstract the hardware, it will create an abstraction for the hardware because it's very difficult to directly interact with the hardware. So you require an operating system which will act as an intermediary. Okay, so operating system will create an abstraction of the hardware and make it presentable to the application. So very easily, you all have used a Windows Explorer. When you click on that Explorer, you get to see all the folders. Inside that, you get to see all the subfolders and the files and so on. So they are actually present in binary format as files on your hard disk. But that hard disk is being abstracted. Abstraction of that hard disk is being created by the operating system and made available to the higher layer. So traditionally, you can see this diagram on the left hand side, how our older computers used to be. You used to have the general hardware, like maybe the processor, the storage device, maybe a scanner and a printer, all attached to the computer. These resources are abstraction of these resources or interaction with these resources is happening with the help of operating system. The operating system in turn interacts with the applications which are on top, like maybe I'm making use of MS Word or I'm making use of MS Excel. All these are applications. I can directly access the files and my other resources, like I can directly print a file with the help of this operating system. So you all can see in a traditional architecture, operating system is an intermediary between the end user who uses the application and the actual hardware. But in a virtual architecture, you will have the hardware, you will have the virtualization layer, You may have multiple operating systems which are installed on this virtualization layer and which are being abstracted. Abstraction of this is being created and made available to different applications. So in older architectures, we used to have only one operating system, and that itself will interact with the hardware and allow interaction with the applications. But now with virtualization, we can have multiple operating systems operating on the same machine. So you may have a Windows, you may have a Ubuntu, or you may have a Unix, or flavors of Unix installed on your machine, and each one is allowing you to create abstraction for the hardware, which in turn are interacting with different applications. Can you all observe? For example, we may have Windows installed on a particular computer, MS Word, MS Excel, I'm trying to access through Windows, okay? There could be Ubuntu installed on a particular system. Maybe I'm trying to make use of some editors or make use of some compilers through that operating system, and then executing my programs on it. Like that, many other operating systems may also be there. Now, what is happening? A virtual machine is being created. This operating system will create one virtual machine. This will create another. This will create the third one. So the complete hardware is being accessed by the applications depending on the operating system with which over which they have been installed, and the virtualization layer is the one which interacts with the hardware as well as the operating system and allows a abstraction of the hardware to the different applications. So have a look at the traditional architecture, also have a look at the virtual architecture. Okay, now in a network or maybe on the same machine itself, the machine used by virtualization is called as hypervisor, and or it is also known as the host, and the virtual machine itself is called as the guest. So there are going to be two machines virtually. One is the host, the other one is the guest. Host is the machine used by virtualization, and it is also referred to as hypervisor. Guest is the virtual machine or the machine which allows you to access the hardware with the help of the virtualization layer. Okay. So have a look at hardware virtualization. One more diagram I have put here. There could be a hardware, there could be a hypervisor. You create virtual hardware, and which in turn allows you to access virtual machines. So your original hardware hypervisor is there, or the host is there, and there could be different guests. Okay, virtual machine 1, virtual machine 2, virtual machine 3. These are nothing but the guests. It could be on the same machine, or it could be on different machines also. Imagine a client server architecture. So the hypervisor could be on the server, and the guest could, that is host could be the server, and the guest could be the clients which are connected to the machines. Okay. Now, generally, there are two types of virtualizations. Have a look at the diagram. The first method of virtualization is referred to as full virtualization, and the other one is referred to as para-virtualization. There are how many types of virtualization? There are two types of virtualization. One is called as full virtualization. The other one is called as para-virtualization. Now, what you must understand here is in both the diagrams, the same computer or the same machine has been considered, and different guests are accessing the hardware with the help of hypervisor, that is shown. But this could happen on two separate machines also. Here, what is shown is same machine. Like in the lab, on one computer, you have Windows installed. You also have Ubuntu installed. Okay, so two operating systems are there. Their virtual machines are getting created on the same computer itself. But it could be on different computers as well. The server could be the hypervisor, and the clients could be the guests. Okay, have a look at what is meant by full virtualization. In case of full virtualization, the operating the hypervisor that is there, or the hardware that is there, is completely made available to the client, is completely made available to the guest as it is. Whatever is the hardware, its virtualization, completely it is available to the guest, or completely it is available to the clients. So no change in whatever is present on the server, exactly same is going to be made available to the clients. So if there is not going to be any modification in while virtualizing, if there's not going to be any change while virtualizing the hardware or while virtualizing the platforms, then that is called as full virtualization. But para virtualization, as the name itself is suggesting, para means partial. So para virtualization doesn't allow you to access as it is the hardware or the virtual machine. You are going to create a modified version of it. So you're going to have a modified guest. Have a look at the left hand side diagram and have a look at the right hand side diagram. So suppose you have a full virtualization as it is. The hypervisor will make the operating system, the platform as it is available. Everything, whatever is available on the hypervisor will be made available to the guest. Okay. So guest OS is as it is, no change, no modification. Whereas if you are going for para virtualization, complete virtualization is not there. It is little partial. So maybe as it is not going to be available. Modification is done while virtualizing, and modified guest operating system or modified guest is made available to the client. So have a look at the left hand side diagram and have a look at the right hand side diagram. I will try to explain full and para virtualization with the help of one more diagram, particularly with reference to cloud computing. Okay. Now look at this diagram of full virtualization. What is it showing you? That in case of full virtualization, you could have a service provider and the service provider's machine, which is the hypervisor. It is made available as it is via internet to your company. Your company means your client machine. So client machine can access all the resources, all the say data that is available on the service provider's machine exactly as it is on your company or on your client's machine. Since completely it is being accessed as it is without any changes, it is referred to as full virtualization. But see what is para virtualization. So if you all can go back to this diagram, say what is being shown here is the Windows icon and what is being accessed here is Windows. So completely say Windows operating system as it is going to be accessed at the client side. But if you're looking at this diagram, your server, that is the hypervisor, the service provider, may be running different operating systems. And for example, it may be running, say, Windows, it may be running, say, Red Hat, Unix, or it may be running Linux. Now, if you're looking at the left-hand side, it is your company, you may have multiple clients. Some of them make use of Red Hat, Unix, some of them make use of Linux, some of them make use of a Windows operating system, depending on their requirement, depending on the kind of applications they are running. We are not creating a complete virtual machine or a complete operating system as it is, or all the hardware or all the resources as it is, they are not being accessed. Among all these, you can see some people are accessing, say, Red Hat Unix, some people are accessing Linux, some people are accessing Windows. So everything is available on the server, but whichever is necessary, only that is being accessed at the client side. This kind of virtualization is called as para virtualization. So if at all this was full virtualization, all three would have been available on all three, or all three would have been compulsorily using all three. But here it is not like that. Since it is para virtualization, three different operating systems are there, but depending on whichever they want, they are using it. Maybe this machine is using Windows, the other machine is using Linux, and the third one is using Unix. So you have to understand the concept now. In para virtualization, as it is, the hypervisor is not going to create an abstraction for the clients. Rather, modified version or maybe changes could be done and then they could be made available. And in full virtualization, as it is, the hypervisor is going to be made available at the client side. The guest machines are going to run in a fully virtualized environment. Okay. Now, there are certain advantages of para virtualization. What are those? First is disaster recovery. Second is migration. Third is capacity management. Disaster recovery is easier because by chance, since only some part is being used at the client side, if at all your operating system fails, or maybe some of the resources are failing, you can very well shift, you can very well go on to other operating systems which are available. So you can recover from failures very easily. Migration in the sense, since many options are available, you can very well shift from one operating system onto second operating system in a para-virtualized environment. Capacity management in the sense scalability. You can in future increase the resources that you want to use on the client's machine, especially when you're using para-virtualization. So the third important advantage of using para-virtualization is capacity management. Okay, so I have told you 2-3 important points. You generally, what I have taught you today, no, those diagrams are not there in your textbook, but generally in the exam, they ask you what is virtualization, and they will ask you the types also. So it's important that you understand the concept of virtualization. That's why I've taken a little bit from the net and from other books, and I have tried to relate it to the content that is there in your textbook. Okay, in your textbook, this diagram is there and this diagram is there. They have not discussed in detail, but unless you understand the concept, it could be a little difficult to know what is virtualization. So right now we will quickly revise what we learned just now. Virtualization is a process of creating a virtual version of something. We could virtualize operating system, we could virtualize hardware, we could virtualize server or storage devices, or all. Okay, now hardware virtualization refers to creating a virtual machine. It acts as a real computer with a operating system. For example, a computer running MS Windows may also host a virtual machine via Ubuntu. Okay, so the machine used by virtualization is known as hypervisor or host. The actual virtual machine that gets created is called as the guest. Now have a look at the traditional architecture and also the virtual architecture. I think from the diagram itself, it's very clear what could be the advantages of virtualization. Flexibility is one very big advantage of virtualization. Scalability and flexibility. Okay. I want you all to have a look at this diagram also. How many types of virtualization are there? There are two types. One is called as hardware virtualization. Sorry, one is called as full virtualization and the second one is known as para virtualization. In case of full virtualization, the guest operating systems are, I mean, as it is made available to the client, or maybe even on the same machine. The hardware, the host operating system, the hypervisor abstracts them and it is made available as it is to the virtual machine. Whereas in case of para virtualization, partial virtualization happens. So modified guest is what is going to be implemented. So this is the diagram for full virtualization. Diagram itself is quite self-explanatory. As it is, the service provider will make available the resources and abstract the hardware onto your client machine on your present at your company. Whereas in partial virtualization, not as it is, but flexibly depending on whichever operating system is possible or is useful, that could be made available to the client machine. So complete virtualization is not going to be there. It is partial. So it is known as para virtualization. Okay, these are the advantages of para virtualization. All right. Now there are quite a few points which we need to learn further, which are based on virtualization. And generally in the exam, questions are put on virtualization. So if you have any doubts, you can ask me in what we learned today. Yes, Rutik? Yeah.
Ma'am, Ubuntu, we are installing in Windows Ubuntu.
Yeah.
So in which category it will come, ma'am?
In which?
Para. In which type it will come, ma'am?
Para.
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 Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, if you have any other doubts, you can ask. Some of you have joined me late today. Why? And who asked you to give your attendance? Initially, when I started the class, there were only 28 students. Lot of students have joined late. Why?
Ma'am, I was facing login issue. I had weak internet. I was trying to log in, but it was showing loading continuously. So as soon
And what
as I
about
reached-
others? Everybody has a network problem only. See to it that you join on time. What I'm planning is, let's see, if possible, I'll be taking all the 4 classes, or maybe 3 classes per week I'll take, because Saturday I have some more classes and I might fall short of data. So Saturday's class, I'm still thinking whether to take or leave, but I'll let you know one day prior. Okay, as of now, I will be taking 3 classes. Whenever it's possible, I'll take 4 classes also per week. But for the other divisions also, we are taking three classes. Okay. We will stop here and we will continue with the next part in the next class. All right.
Yes, ma'am.